If you're joining me today, chances are that you've tried it all when it comes to ending your migraines, right? Maybe you've done medication, maybe you've done Botox, elimination diets, chiropractor, naturopaths. We can go on, right? We can make the list. It's like a mile long. Some of those things, they might have given you a little relief, but nothing stuck, right? And I want to explain to you why so that you understand. It's not because you haven't tried hard enough. It is actually because you've never had all three areas of your inflammation network addressed at the same time. That's the missing piece. Your inflammation network, it is basically your body's alarm system. And when it's stuck in dysfunction, overacting, misfiring, never shutting off, you live in this constant state of inflammation. I want you to think about it like running away from the saber-toothed tiger all day long, right? Your body is staying in survival mode. Now, this means it can't do its normal jobs. It can't work on repairing cells and digesting food and balancing hormones and calming nerve pathways the way that it's supposed to. And migraines, they are one of the loudest alarm bells that the system rings. So the real question becomes, which part of your system is stuck in overdrive? And that's where my three-step protocol comes in. We go through step 1, 2, and 3 to ensure that everything is going to run smoothly. So step 1 is finding your inducers. And this is where the 6 keys of inflammation come in. Now, when we support women inside the Freedom from Migraine method, we always start here. This is the foundation, the place that we begin, because if we skip this, nothing else is going to work. Now, most of the women who come in to the Freedom from Migraine method, they have touched on typically 1, 2, maybe 3 of these areas already. Some maybe have dabbled in all 6, but here's the truth. Real change doesn't happen just because you check the box. It happens when the 6 keys are addressed in the right order, stacked together, and tailored to you in a way that reduces inflammation, not fueling it. And I know what you might be thinking. I've done all this before. This is so basic. Why are we even talking about this? And I get it. I hear this every single day. Women tell me that they've tried it all and yet they're still in pain. Why is that? Because the way that you apply the 6 keys has to match where you are right now. Not where you were 6 months ago, not where you want to be in the future, but today in your current state of health. And then each area has to be tweaked so that they actually work together, not against each other. So here's a little example of what I mean so this makes sense to you. So if you're working on electrolyte symmetry, it is not just drink more water. Your cells, they need sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium balanced properly. And when they're not, your neurons stay edgy and keep fueling migraines. Nutrition integration. Eating healthy isn't always enough. If you've got nutrient gaps like low magnesium, B vitamins, or omega-3s, your inflammation switches, they stay flipped on. Food has to match your healing stage, not match what the latest craze is online. Then there's mindset modulation. Stress itself isn't the problem. It's how your brain reacts to stress. And when you're locked in that fight or flight, cortisol and adrenaline, they flood your system with inflammatory chemicals. Retraining that response literally rewires your brain. Then there's toxicity mitigation, medication, plastics, molds, alcohol. Those overload your detox systems. And when your body can't keep up, toxins pile up, cells get damaged, and inflammation never shuts off. Circadian responsivity. Sleep just isn't about hours, it's about quality. Poor sleep keeps your brain from cleaning itself out, right? Leaving behind toxic buildup that triggers inflammation. Resetting your rhythm restores repair. And then lastly, movement stabilization. Both too much and too little movement is going to spike inflammation. The right kind at the right time It really will activate these anti-inflammatory pathways. And the wrong kind keeps your brain in alarm mode. So for most women, when we put all 6 of these in place in the right way, that is actually enough to achieve migraine freedom. But then there are those women who I'm guessing you think that's you, right? Living with autoimmunity, recovering from cancer, on lots of medication, struggling with gut health issues. These are the women that we move on to step 2 with. And that's where we actually address chronic inflammation drivers. So even if you master the 6 keys, you might still have that little bit of extra work to do, those underlying conditions that are feeding the fire. This is typically for women that have been inflamed longer, because the longer you're inflamed, the more things that start to break, right? So you might have infections or injuries. You might have autoimmune conditions. You might have gut imbalance, constipation. This is a big one for women who have migraines. You might have hidden food allergies. You might have medication overuse headache. There's so many other drivers under here. You might think that it's hormones, right? You're in perimenopause or postmenopause, so you think hormones are causing the problem. If these things aren't addressed, they keep your inflammation network in overdrive and block your progress. So step 2 is like putting up the walls and structure of a house once the foundation is poured. This is where we zoom in on your current symptoms, your medications, what your doctors are working on, and we give your body that extra support it needs to begin true healing. But here is the thing. Every house has its own blueprint, and your body, that blueprint is your genetics. That's why step 3 can be so important for so many people. So in step 3, we're going to actually decode your genetics so that they work for you, not against you. Once your foundation is strong and the structure is solid, this blueprint, your unique blueprint, your genes, needs to be addressed. And this isn't about my mom had migraines, so I'm gonna too. My grandmother has migraines, so it doesn't matter what I do. Genetics shape how your body processes nutrients, how it balances hormones, and how it clears toxins. So for example, the MTHFR gene, it impacts how you use folate and B vitamins. And then you have electrolyte regulating genes. This affects nerve stability. Then there's genes tied to celiac, histamine, intolerance, seizure disorders, so on and so forth. And they all raise migraine risk. You might have a direct migraine gene, like those that have hemiplegic migraines. But the good news is genes aren't destiny. Lifestyle and environment, those inducers that we were talking about, can turn these genes on or off. And when we target the right areas, we can calm down the ones that are fueling migraines. Now, for a real life example, Jen came to me convinced, just like you, right, that she's done it all. Botox meds, multiple elimination diets, so on and so forth. But she's only ever been addressing one slice of her inflammation network. Once we worked all 3 phases together, her migraines dropped from daily to rarely. And then there was Lisa. Lisa told me, Debbie, I thought I'd already fixed my inflammation. I was eating clean, I was sleeping better, but I still had migraines. What we found was that her electrolytes and genetics were keeping her system on edge. Once we balanced those, things finally clicked. This is why so many women feel like they failed. In reality, they just haven't had all 3 areas working together. So that's the big picture. But in a short podcast, I can only scratch the surface. And that's why this week I am hosting a free live training, why every pill, every diet, and gadget stops working, and the #1 root cause that nobody told you about. It's going to happen October 8th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. You can sign up through the link in the show notes. And in this training, I'm going to break down exactly why the things that you've tried gave you temporary relief, but didn't last, and how to finally get to the root cause of migraines for good. Because here's the truth. If you've only tried meds or only tried diets or only tried a little stress management, you've only been tackling one slice of the pie, one piece of the puzzle. Migraines persist because all three areas, inducers, drivers, and genetics, they really feed into your inflammation network. And when we calm all three together, the system quiets down. And when the system quiets down, migraines lose their grip. So don't give up hope. Freedom is 100% still possible. And I'll show you exactly how in this week's training. I'll see you there.